welcome to Three Count Commentaries. I just want to riff on something real quick. I saw WWE is doing some kind of fan event, and they're charging people $25,000 to have a dinner with John Cena. They're charging people $8,000 to have a backstage meeting with Triple H and Lex Luger. Some of the meet and greets are up to $400. The tickets for WrestleMania are over $500. They're into the thousands. And I'm saying to myself, now the meet and greets, a lot of them are selling out. I'm paying attention, and I'm one of these people where there is no such thing as too much, because too much is whatever the market will bear. But my question is, I think WWE within the last 3 years have decided to move almost completely away and completely detach from their core audience. From cutting house shows in small markets where the company actually, they may not make money, but that's where their fan base is. Cutting house shows to those places. Spending a whole lot of time overseas. They're about to do a whole nother overseas tour where they're juicing the hell out of the Europeans as well. The expensive merchandise, the expensive meet and greets, the ticket prices, which are soaring through the roof. This company since Endeavor purchased it, and I know that this is what they're trying to maximize profits and all this kind of stuff. But overall, WWE always felt like, I don't want to say, it was, as a matter of fact, I do want to say they were accessible, right? WWE wrestlers used to be the accessible celebrity. You can go to a wrestling show and you might get a chance to meet Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage or something like that, when you probably never would have gotten a chance to meet Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or whatever, Like the chances of you, like, I never got to meet Barry Sanders. I would have really wanted to meet Barry Sanders when I was a kid. Would have loved to have met, Herman Moore as a kid. But it just wasn't in the cards. But for these kids today, you're dangling their heroes in front of them and saying, get mommy and daddy to pay $500 or whatever, so that you could take a picture and shake the hand of your hero. My God, that's insane. Look, I don't know what it means on the other end for the talent. Maybe the talent are getting a bigger cut. That's why they raised the cost. I don't know. But to me, as an observer, I think that this company has gone far and beyond in terms of getting away from its core audience, which is middle America. Working class United States, blue collar America. Filling the crowd with rappers and celebrities. That might look great for television, but they're just there for the fad, and I would not be surprised if some of them are just not there for promo. Meaning they got a movie coming out, an album coming out, the record label sent them there, or something like that. I heard that the soccer guy that showed up on Raw to watch Randy Orton, I heard he came, watched Randy Orton, and they put him on screen, and then he left immediately afterwards. Right? He didn't even stay for the whole show. At least that's my understanding. It could not be true. And I'm certain that other celebrities have done that too. Like, I get that you want WWE to feel mainstream. I get that. But you gotta realize, and this is what Vince knew better than anybody that's running the company now, you gotta know what your core audience is. Your core audience is not little baby, right? Your core audience, Killer Mike is a wrestling fan, legit, like West Side Gun and these guys. They can afford to go to wrestling shows and fly all over the place. They're millionaire rappers. Macaulay Culkin can show up every goddamn week if he wants to. But what about the kid in, like, Iowa or Massachusetts? He doesn't get to see WWE that often. You're really going to lynch his parents out of all the money they have just so he can get nosebleed seats to a house show. That's just, it seems unreal. Like this, the kid, like that's what I'm thinking of right now, is that the kids are, because the adults, they find wrestling to be fun, but they bring their kids with them. The kids are the ones who really believe in the product. They're the ones who really grow the product. They've always been the secret ingredient to WWE's success, is their ability to get the kids and get the kids to buy into the heroes and villains and the stories. And then the kid grows up with them. And sometimes they grow up and they grow out. I mean, it is what it is. It just can't be helped. But if you can keep them long term, that would be great. Now, you're just, not only are you, and to double back a little bit, now you're telling people to buy Netflix, and then the cost of Netflix went up. And then you want them to buy Peacock as well. So you want them to have all of these streaming services to be able to watch a product. Then you want to juice them with tickets, and then juice them on the meet and greets, and then limit the amount of house shows that they get. And then skyrocket the amount of merch, but then also skyrocket the cost of merch. Who is the intended audience for this stuff? You know? And as of right now, I look like I'm an idiot because the shows are selling out. Why are you complaining about ticket sales? The shows are selling out. Why are you complaining about the cost of meet and greets? Those meet and greets are being sold out. I've seen that Charlotte's is sold out. Dominic's is sold out. You know, these aren't like the top level guys, but their tickets are selling out. And I'm saying like, yeah, right now that's true. But think about long term. Long term, going to a sporting event for the average American citizen is becoming more and more difficult. Most average people will never attend a Super Bowl now. But in the past 20 or 30 years ago, it was still unlikely. But today, it's impossible for the average person to attend a Super Bowl. Now, and it has been that way for a while. It is virtually impossible for the average person to attend a football playoff game. All right? Unless your team absolutely sucks, the likelihood that you're going to attend a football game at all is difficult. Try getting a ticket to a big fight. Forget it. Try getting a ticket to a UFC event. It's unconscionable the amount of money these events are charging people. But with WWE, they were supposed to be the accessible stars. You know? They're not huge superstar athletes like Kobe and Michael Jordan and, you know, all these guys. But that, what they're saying is, you know, pay to meet them as if they are. And it would be fine if it was a little here and a little there, but you're talking about $400, $100. I think for Charlotte, her tickets were like $110. And I think it depends on what you were doing. Like if you were taking a picture or just shaking the hands or whatever, the cost. But to me, it just seems exorbitant. Like you're really juicing a smaller number of people. And look, if those people can afford it, God bless them. I'm not standing against it. But WWE had, their audience is blue collar America. And I don't know what Endeavor thinks the audience is, but this ain't going to last forever. And they're going to look real dumb. And I felt like it's the same thing with all these events being 2 nights. And the ticket prices didn't come down because they're 2 nights. Ticket prices went up. And these events are 2 nights. They're not going to be able to do 2-night events forever. They're not going to be able to do these huge meet and greets forever. Intimate dinners with John Cena and backstage, you know, shaking of the hands with Triple H. All this stuff seems very excessive. All of it just very excessive. $25,000 to meet John Cena. They were charging $9,500 for you to have a suite with Hulk Hogan. They did a 30% cut. It's still almost $7,000 just to hang out with the Hulkster. There's going to be an entire generation of kids who are going to be cut off from WWE. And that's really when they're going to feel it. And like I said, they might not feel it within the next 10 years. But eventually they're going to feel that a lot of the good old boys who was watching this stuff on TV, but the show never came to their town. They could never afford to go to a meet and greet. They couldn't afford a lot of merchandise. They're going to feel more and more detached from the product. Because that's what happened to a degree with the NBA. You know, as the NBA became more and more professional, there used to be movies and documentaries, Hoop Dreams, where all the young black boys would talk about how they want to go to the NBA and all that kind of stuff. And then you started seeing how the NBA sort of manipulated that. You started seeing, they would have all these AAU leagues and all this kind of stuff that you need to have money to get into. And so fewer and fewer black boys started having hoop dreams. So then you started having more black, Europeans come over and play basketball. More Africans and Europeans come over. And now kind of the black boys I haven't heard too many of them that still aspire to be NBA players anymore. Because when they were a kid, like when I was a kid, an NBA player was Allen Iverson. The real definition of he looked like you, spoke like you, or whatever. I mean, we had braids and they had tattoos and, he rapped. He was like one of us. But now all the NBA players are either middle class because their daddy played in the basketball league or their daddy had money, or they're European. The same thing happened with baseball. Baseball became a game that was too expensive for the average person to play. So a lot of kids in the hood stopped being interested in playing baseball. Not just that the game was boring, but you need a bat and a mitt and a ball, and you needed like 10 other people. It became just too much. But then, the average kid who dreamed of hitting a home run in the World Series, that's the dream of guys who are 60 or 70 years old now. I can't think of anybody under the age of 50 who even thought about something like that. Like when I was a kid, it was a legitimate dream to want to play in the NFL or something. But even that, it's still there for the NFL, because gridiron football is still pretty big in the United States, but it's becoming less so. And part of that is due to parents pulling their children from football leagues. So it's not exactly due to people becoming detached from the game. It's partially due to parents pulling their children from the league out of fear of injury. But even concerts, people used to be inspired by going to concerts. Not so much anymore. Now people get inspired from looking at YouTube clips of concerts. Not many people can afford to go to a big budget concert now. Again, WWE is not Taylor Swift. It's not Sabrina Carpenter. All right. It ain't a Beyonce thing, but they're charging Beyonce prices. And it's getting kind of nuts. I know Beyonce is probably $10,000 per seat. But you get my meaning. It's not the business of pop stars and millionaire rappers and movie stars. This is the league of the average Joe. It has always been the business driven by the average person. The blue collar guy who saved up maybe even money from one paycheck to be able to go to a wrestling show. I'm thinking about the most famous fan who went to Madison Square Garden all those times, even though Madison Square Garden is a very expensive show to attend. And I'm saying to myself, like, man, imagine that, how great that was. And then you started seeing WWE run Madison Square Garden less and less. because they wanted to, go around the country, then around the world. So Madison Square Garden became it went from being a tradition that you knew you were going to get you a garden show at least once a month to, well, maybe you got to wait a couple of months to get a garden show. And then it's more expensive than it was before. Well, if you grew up with that, then maybe you can deal with it. But a lot of the other people are not going to be able to. They're just going to be completely detached from it. And that's really where the energy of pro wrestling comes from, is people wanting to go to the shows, to be in the crowd, to be there for the big moment, or just to see, or experience it live. And WWE is making it very, very difficult. Again, like I said before, they're acting like a mega church. And it's very bizarre. And I didn't think it could get worse than when Vince was running it, but it's worse now. Because they don't have a reason to do all this stuff. Because the sponsorship revenue and everything is starting to pick up with WWE, they don't need to charge all these exorbitant fees. I don't even understand why they're doing it, if we're being honest. Outside of, they want money. But it's not like they need money. And all the empty suits that is running WWE are the Mark Shapiros and Nick Khan's. They're trying to cut corners everywhere they can and then, pass all these costs on to the fans. And it's working for now. And again, I'm not going to argue with success. I'm just saying that eventually WWE is going to pay a big, big cost for what they're doing to their underprivileged audience by taking the product away from them and moving it over to the upper class and saying, you guys are our new audience. The people who can pay $10,000 to attend WrestleMania. I'm talking about with tickets, meet and greets, travel, hotel, all that. If you got money to do all that, you're our audience. You're what we want. That's never been WWE's audience. It's never been them. It's almost like what I said before in a previous video. It's almost becoming like WrestleManias for Disney adults. Who else would pay $7,000 to beat Hulk Hogan? $8,000 to meet Triple H? $25,000 to have dinner with John Cena? The same people who will probably show up to Epcot by themselves. It's weird, man, and I don't like it. So I had to get this off my chest. Back to regularly scheduled programming.